Oh, sorry. Hi there, I didn't see you. I was just savouring the flavour. The flavour of victory. It's fucking delicious. Actually tastes a little bit like rabbit, funnily enough.
Rise above, generate, rise above, extinguish fear, rise above, abstract.
Welcome to the midweek chat. I'm going to apologise right now. I'm going to be gloating in this show. Let me welcome Sensei, our team member, Inner Guardians, Master Lee.
Salutations.
Salutations and elucidations, Master Lee.
And celebrations.
And celebrations, yes, because this is not a normal midweek chat. There was a fantastic victory that occurred this Monday on July 19th on Freedom Day, when some other freedoms were taken away. It's funny how these things work out, isn't it, in the Guardians? With the dates.
Well, it could just be a coincidence.
It could just be a coincidence.
On a moon day?
On a moon day. It could be a coincidence that the day that I was arrested that led up to this whole fiasco, I was speaking about the exact thing that happened on Moon Day. Which was what? It was coerced procedures, yeah?
Yeah.
Through using Chinese-style Maxine passports, okay?
Yep.
So another amazing piece of synchronicity, coincidence, whatever we want to call it. Mate, I barely know where to start. I honestly barely know where to start. Big up everyone that's tuned in. Tonight, we might go on a little bit longer than our regular midweek chat. It might go on a little bit longer, and I'm going to be gloating because we had a fantastic victory. I guess I should probably really start at the start of the story. For anyone that doesn't know how this whole thing started with me in the court case, defending freedom of speech, cast your minds back to funny enough, Friday the 13th of November last year.
Have you got many tuned in?
We've got 63 tuned in at the moment.
Okay. All right.
It's not bad for a Wednesday night. So
No.
yeah.
So more will jump on.
Oh yeah, more will jump on. We've only been going for 6 minutes.
Yeah.
So it was a Rise Above night. It's actually episode 2 of the live stream. And for anyone that was watching back then, they will probably remember that in the middle of the live stream, I got a phone call because the police had visited my parents' house, where I haven't lived for almost 20 years. Okay. And they're in their 70s. At 10 o'clock at night, they visited my parents' house and threatened my arrest if I attended the Truro Freedom protest, which was the next day on the Saturday morning. A day that's now gone down in history because basically I called their bluff. I said, no, I won't. I refuse. I refuse to be intimidated or threatened. I'm going to talk at this protest tomorrow. I've been invited to speak as a guest speaker at this protest. And I did. Mm-hmm. And as many people know, I got arrested. And that was 8 months ago? Quite a long time.
Yeah.
I've been on bail conditions, which have prevented me from speaking at protest or attending protests. People might have seen my video where I tried to go near the Bournemouth protest and the police came up and spoke to me and asked what I was doing.
That could be a blessing in disguise, actually.
Well, I've often thought about this because I had a lot of big talks at other protests lined up. London, Manchester, Liverpool, Birmingham, in front of many thousands of people. I had a feeling if I carried on going the way I was going, I could have gone to one of those festivals, maybe let the adrenaline and the endorphins get a little bit the better of me, and I might have said something a bit inflammatory, and I might have caused something to happen. I could see that happening, and I might have got myself in a lot more trouble. But anyway, so the first charges they tried to put on me, these weasels. Oh yeah, and by the way, I'm just going to let you know later on, I'm going to be revealing the first ever piece of official Rise Above anti-coviet legislation. This cost £3,000, this piece of legislation, and I'm going to be de-occulting it to everyone and giving it away to everyone. So please keep watching. It's going to be very important that anyone that's having their free speech curtailed by the Coviet Union, I have the answer right here. And I'm going to give it to everyone. It's going on the website tomorrow for everyone to download. Yeah, it's
Good
going to be
stuff.
it's going to be fantastic. So the first charges that they put on me while I was in the cell for 23 hours, causing a public nuisance, breaking coronavirus regulations, conspiring to incite others to break coronavirus regulations. Obviously all bogus. Now, as the time went on, they changed these charges while I'm being kept on bail for 8 months. They changed it to this charge of... It's very, very weird. Holding or being involved in holding a gathering on the land of more than 30 people. That was a charge. Now, for anyone that's watching, this is a very common charge. They've put this on loads of people.
Not 33 people.
It wouldn't surprise me.
There's 3 in there.
There's going to be a few threes in this story in the Guardians. More than it's going to be quite interesting. It's very synchronistic, especially with the video that you sent me just before I went into the courtroom.
Sure.
You said listen to 3 times. I only had a chance to listen to it once. It repeated itself in the courtroom before my eyes, and then I listened to it again afterwards, and then I fully understood what had just happened. And I'll go through that as well.
Excellent.
Yeah, it was excellent. So I've got the footage of like what I said when I was arrested. I'm not going to play that now. Anyone can see that. But the important thing is that what we did on Monday, we set a precedent. No one in this country so far, as far as I know, from my solicitor, has successfully called the coviet union's bluff, pled not guilty in one of these bogus charges, taken it all the way and won. No one's ever done it before. No one has ever taken it all the way before. People have caved in, said guilty, I'll take the charges. They've paid their fines. Some people have been fined £10,000. Whether they paid it or not, they've been fined. I have not been fined anything. I've been found completely not guilty, and I'm going to tell everyone exactly how we did it. Now, I've got a few notes, yeah? I've got to say a couple of things as well. I want to say one thing. I'm very, very glad that I didn't take the advice of some people online to go down the common law route. That's going to hurt some people's feelings, yeah? I'm sorry. But I'm very glad I didn't do that.
Yeah.
Because if I had done that, I might have been taking a knife to a gunfight. And for anyone that knows me, that's not my style. If I'm invited to a gunfight, I generally like to take a bazooka, minimum. That's the way I attend a gunfight. I never take a knife. So what we did was I crowdfunded. Keith Burgess, I've got to say a massive thank you to Keith Burgess for setting up this crowdfund. Big up Joe, the Secretary of State, who has also helped massively in this campaign against the coviet union. They set up a fundraiser. We were told it would cost £3,000 to defend myself and my co-D, Shelley Tasker. And that was a massively reduced rate. We raised the £3,000 and it went directly to the barrister. Now, what the barrister has done is pretty fucking impressive. I have to be honest. This piece of legislation is extremely powerful, right? Now, who listening has ever read the coronavirus bill? Anyone? The coronavirus bill is 342 pages long, rushed through Parliament last March in 3 days. I recommend every single person watching, as a matter of first principles right now, not right now, when you finish watching, go and get a copy of the coronavirus bill and take some time to read it from the first page to the last page. Now, oh God, it's 342 pages. Well, guess what? If you do that, if you read the coronavirus bill, 342 pages long or whatever it is, you will have a better understanding of the coronavirus bill than 99.9% of the people that may try and use it against you.
I was going to say, the police have definitely not read it.
They have not got a clue what is contained in the coronavirus bill. Because what I've effectively done is I've used the coronavirus bill as my personal protection. I used it, I recatalyzed it against the coviet union. The coronavirus bill is how we won the case. So let me share my screen so I can actually get this up on the screen because it's very, very interesting. Big up everyone watching, and anyone that's on any charges from the coviet union. You need to watch this. Okay. Right now, This 72-page document, which has cost £3,000 to produce, this is from the money that's been crowdfunded. So this document actually belongs to everybody. I don't care if you donate it or not. You can still have this document. The only bits that don't pertain to you are the bits where it says Shelley Tasker and Lance Murdoch. That's the only bits that will not pertain to you. The rest of it can pertain to anyone that is being arrested with this charge of holding or being involved at holding of a gathering. It's a totally bogus charge, right? Now, this is just the skeleton. This barrister is sick. It's just a skeleton document. So here we go, right? This is how they try to do us. Both defendants are charged with holding or being involved in holding a gathering, the Cornwall Freedom Rally, on Saturday the 14th of November 2020 in Truro City Centre. Contrary to Section 10 of the Health Protection, Coronavirus Restrictions England, Regulations Number 4 2020, which came into force 5th of November. So funnily enough, this came into force 9 days before my arrest. Both defendants accept attending the rally. Both defendants spoke at the rally. So they've got a video of us speaking. That was the only piece of evidence the Coviet Union had against us, which was really funny. Their prosecution was completely horizontal. It was utterly two-dimensional. And this is very, very important. Okay? Remember what Master Lee taught us with the power of 3 and erecting the third force, igniting the third force. This is how we beat them. Now, this is a 72-page document. Imagine the coronavirus bill as one whole rabbit. This 72-page document is the gist of one single rabbit hole. The rabbit hole is this clause 10 about holding a relevant gathering on the land. And this is where we got them. So it says, we accept that we were there. We accept that we spoke. We deny holding or being involved in holding the Cornwall Freedom Rally because neither of us did hold it. We were speakers. Both defendants accept there were over 30 people. Now that's page 1 of a 72-page document. It didn't take far. I'm going to tell you now. This bit here is where we got them. We got them on the... So good. Right, here we go. Submissions. This applies to everyone. The defence has 3 submissions to make. How many submissions, Master Lee?
3 is the number.
We erected a triad. The barrister on the second page of this document, right in the Coviet Union's face, erected a triad, and it's a powerful triad. It goes as thus. The protests were organised by a political body who had undertaken the required precautions, and so the defendants could not be in breach of Regulation 10. That's one side of the triad. The second side, neither defendant was holding the gathering or the attendance at the gathering, and you can't prove it. There's no proof. That's the second side of the triad. And the third one, if the court does find either defendants to have held or been involved in holding the gathering, the defendants are not guilty because they have a reasonable excuse for contravening the restrictions pursuant to Regulation 20. That's human rights. So there's a triad there. We didn't even need to use side 2 or side 3. We actually smashed them on the very, very first one. Right? And this is how we did it. So, the first one. Both defendants are charged with breaching Regulation 10 of the Health Protection, which states, this is what it says, no person can hold or be involved in the holding of a relevant gathering. Remember the word relevant. I've said since day one, if you want to understand what the Parasite does, you have to read the small print. So, we paid £3,000 for a top-flight barrister to literally read the Coviet small print, and this is what we found. For the purposes of paragraph 1, a person who only participates in a gathering by attending is not to be taken as involved in holding the gathering. A gathering falls within the paragraph. It consists of more than 30 persons. It takes place in a private dwelling, in a vessel, or on the land. And here, section C. It is not a gathering in relation to which any of the exceptions set out in Regulation 11, as far as capable of applying to a gathering or the exemption of a gathering. Okay, so now we go to another regulation. It was like a game of musical chairs in the courtroom. It was amazing, right? Here it is, subsection 6A. If it's a business, a charity, a benevolent or philanthropic institute, a public body or a political body, and they've taken the required precautions. Well, guess what? Protesting against the Coviet Union, that makes you a political body. Isn't it fantastic? Now, I could go through the rest of this 72-page document that we paid £3,000 for, which I'm going to de-occult and give to everyone. We got them. Yeah, so it cost £3,000. Right, so I'm going to condense what happened in the courtroom. The coviet union was utterly two-dimensional. They basically said these two defendants went to that protest and they spoke on a loud hailer. Therefore, they were involved in holding the protest. That's all they had. They were on a completely two-dimensional horizontal plane. They had nothing else. They kept repeating themselves over and over again. Once this triad was erected of, for one, this was a completely relevant gathering because it's a political protest. 2, you had to prove these two people held it. And 3, even if you do, their human rights protect them from doing it. The triad was so strong, it took the coviet defence all day to try and manoeuvre around it. They couldn't. But the judge also was trying to manoeuvre around this triad, and he was trying to back out of it. I said to the prosecutor, the defence, I said, listen, they can't carry on doing this because it's there. You've erected the triad. They said they can't get out of it. I said, let me add something. He said, what, you want to go on the stand? I said, yeah, I will go on the stand. I definitely want to go on the stand. They said, you're going to get cross-examined. I said, no problem. No problem whatsoever. Right? And Captain Buff was there. He can vouch for this. I got on the stand, and when I did the swearing in, yeah, I did something very consciously. And you have to say, I solemnly swear. And I was obviously eyeballing the judge and the person saying it to me, and I built up the pressure. I did it as a performance. The truth. I looked around, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And by the time I said nothing but the truth, I was essentially shouting. And they're like, okay.
That's a triad, yeah?
Yeah. I erected a very powerful triad at the start of my speech. And, obviously I said, listen, I am an individual with an opinion and an internet connection. I was invited to attend this protest as a guest speaker. Now, they kept going around this triad of who was the organisation, because they knew that we hadn't organised it. But they said that if they couldn't say who the organisation is, it could be pinned on us. And I said, well, listen, you can look at the poster. On the poster, it says the name of the organisation that arranged the rally. If you look at the registered charity or the company number, you can look at all of the people who run that corporation. It's called Save Our Rights. Myself and this lady here, my co-defendant, we have no affiliation to Save Our Rights whatsoever. It's all recorded. Once I put that final metal pin in the three-dimensional deck chair of that triad, the coviet union crumbled in about 10 minutes. The judge basically said, once he'd accepted the triad, he goes, I need to adjourn the court. Came back and he said, well, he just read out the first line. He goes, this is not a relevant gathering because it is a political body. The political body that made the risk assessment is Save Our Rights. And it just crumbled. And it went, and that was it. And he said, well, these two clearly aren't guilty. The fact was, here's the great thing. Even if we had organised and held the protest, the coronavirus bill protected us. Gosh. So, yeah. This tactical free speech nuke, which we have now constructed, this is going to be on the website from tomorrow. It's available for everyone, and we beat the coviet union by deploying a triad on the second page. Okay, I'm going to say something. From the outside, this thing that's being foisted upon us, it looks like a big, scary, technocratic, totalitarian monster. I'm going to tell you something. I have stood right beneath it. It's vulnerable. It has wide open gaps in it. Basically, by applying the first principles of their own legislation against them, we didn't even need to use the triad. The first principle would have done it. And Inner Guardians, I've got to say, the video which you made for me, which is now on your station, Inner Guardians, what's this video called, your latest one?
The one I did on Monday. Actually, no, I did it on the Sunday.
You did it on Monday. You released it just as I was going into the courtroom. I was listening to it.
No, I composed it on the Sunday, and then I published it deliberately on the Monday. Yeah, and it's basically It's the triads, triangles, and triangles, which is kind of the revelations of what the inner guardians are. It's the triangles, and it's the power of the three forces. Remember I said probably the first few shows that I was on, I mentioned that you can put me in a room with the horizontalists and I have no fear of them. And this is the reason why. Because they
have no fear of them now. Nothing.
Yeah, they fundamentally do not understand or understand how to use the three forces. They have great limitations because they operate on the horizontal line of two forces. And it's literally as simple as that.
Honestly, it is as simple as that. I saw it, mate.
You can expose the fragility of them. And I say this to anybody, have no fear. As long as you've got a basic understanding of triads, then you should have no fear of the horizontalists.
And here's the greatest thing, right? Your video, you said you need to listen to this 3 times to fully understand it. I listened to it once going in. And in the video, it said this. I'm paraphrasing. You basically said, when you have fully mastered your third force, you will understand that the denying force is an equal part of your triad, as well as the affirming force and the reconciling force.
Yes.
Now, I didn't fully understand that until I went into the courtroom. When I saw in front of my face, first principles applied with a triad, and I knew that what I formerly thought was the denying force, the coronavirus bill, was actually an important part of my triad. The denying force, to fully ignite your third force, you have to realise the denying force is a part of you.
Yes. Yeah, so remember I said a while back that you will not fully understand symbolism or symbols until you see it moving. So what you've got with, say, a triangle is you've got angles. You've got 3 angles. Now, the denying force can't last forever. At some point, the denying force must hit the angle, and it starts a new trajectory into another force. So no matter how bad something seems, it's never going to last forever. And this is very, very important to understand.
Look at my situation. For 8 months, I've had this over my head. I've had the thought of, if I go outside and I basically break the coronavirus rules, I could be on remand. I could actually be imprisoned and kept on remand for 8 months. I've had that hanging over me.
Yeah.
And I've got to say such a massive thank you to everyone that donated money to build this fucking tactical nuke that we now have. I'm confident that this document right here, this can literally smash that one particular bit of the coronavirus. At the end of the day, if you apply what you've applied here to the coronavirus bill, you can actually make it work for you, and you can actually make it protect you. This is the craziest thing. The coronavirus bill protects your right to protest against the Coviet Union while not wearing a mask in a group of more than 30 people not standing 2 meters apart. It actually protects your right to do that. No one knows this. And that's why I have to say massive props to the barrister that did that. And by the way, I'm now going to sue the Coviet Union's police force for wrongful arrest. I have a massive case, apparently. I have a really, really strong case. Because most of their evidence had to be omitted from the case, because basically they incriminated themselves very badly that they were targeting me. Yeah. My solicitor basically said, there was a 200-page report into me, a massive operation with dozens of police officers, a squad of drones, and it was basically, it was all to arrest me because I've made that Serco speech, and that's political targeting, okay?
Yeah.
You can't arrest someone and say, you've caused a public nuisance and you've travelled too far, but you're in the video saying, there he is, get him, because that's what they did. That's why in the courtroom, they couldn't play the audio of the video. It had to be omitted because the police incriminated themselves.
Yeah.
And funnily enough, my solicitor reckons that the payout from this, if I'm successful, could be in the region of what they were trying to fine me, £10,000. Imagine what I could do with £10,000. This document only costs £3,000. £10,000, we could construct another warhead. We could deconstruct and de-occult another part of the coronavirus bill. That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, right? Everyone's going, oh, you must be so glad it's over. Well, what's over? Nothing's over. This has just begun, as far as I'm concerned. They've really fucked up here. They thought they were trapping me by, baiting me into an arrest and threatening me. Little did they know, I trapped them.
Yeah, I mean, we're literally witnessing creation.
Yes.
In real time. So everything that happened, this was all meant to be. Like I keep saying, you've got to kind of befriend the denying force. So sometimes
Totally.
life will take you on a painful or difficult path, but it doesn't last forever. At some point, it will reach the end and change direction.
Don't ever let anyone tell you that you're powerless.
And then, there's lots of little things. Like, for instance, how many defendants were there?
Myself and my Cody, Shelley Tasker.
Yeah, and then you've got your barrister, so that's 3.
We had one barrister. Yeah, we had a powerful triad. Right, I've got to give a shout. The solicitor I got, he wasn't there on the day, and I got him because he is notoriously pro freedom of speech, anti coviet, and I was recommended him. Now, to save us money, he sent his new girl. She's only 26 years old. It was her second case. And I've got to admit, when I rocked up at the courtroom and he wasn't there, and she looked young, I was like, damn. But, well, I was wrong. When she opened her mouth, this girl had a point to prove, and she's obviously trying to cut her teeth. Two out of 2 now. She smashed them twice. So she's got an unbroken record. And I'll tell you what, if anyone that's watching this is in the situation that I was in, I will put you in touch with the official Rise Above legal team, and they will sort you out. Crowdfund. Ask people for help. Because what we did here is not just getting me off. It's not just getting Shelley off. What we've done here is made history. We've set a precedent. We've set a first principle. It's very, very powerful. I'm very, very happy about what's happened. This is better than I could have possibly imagined. I thought he was just going to get thrown out of court to show how pathetic they are. That's why people can see when I made that video last week, I was worried because I fully never expected it to go this far. I was always what I manifested in my head before I even went there that day was I'd get arrested, I'd make a big thing of it, and they would drop it because it was bogus. I never imagined that I'd get to literally create a weapon against them. Because now I've weaponized it.
Yeah, that's why I deliberately published that video on the Monday, because it all this stuff, all of the occult, it can be done digitally through the ether. Because what we're actually fundamentally talking about is not just on the physical plane.
No.
This is metaphysical.
This is metaphysical warfare, mate.
And there's too many coincidences for it to be just random. This is by design.
This is what happens when the third force is fully activated. I now fully understand. I was always thinking I was already man number 3. I wasn't. I just became man number 3 right now. This court case has really, really shown me what the third force is. Now, all I can think about is how you position your bum to sit on a fourth dimensional deck chair. Do you know what I mean? Right? Because when you've got a regular deck chair and it's fully erect, the way you sit in a deck chair, your body feels the way the canvas goes between the 2 axes. You feel the whole thing in the third D. But imagine how you would have to position yourself to feel the seat on a four-dimensional deck chair. I'm already like thinking about that deeply. Maybe you need a different type of body. I don't know.
Well, what it would indicate to go to the 4th dimension is that you see all 3 at the same time. While you're 1, 2, and 3, you only see one side at one time, or you may see 2 if you're lucky. But once you ascend to the 4th realm or level number 4, you see all 3 simultaneously. And this is what they can't do. They get stuck on 1, 2, or 3, or 2 at best.
It was so obvious when I saw this playing out in the courtroom. Oh, the coviet prosecutor. She was grey. She looked like a zombie. She actually looked dead, like fully dead. There was no life in her eyes. She's wearing all grey as well. Her skin was all grey, like something. But she was. There was no essence about her. There was no essence whatsoever.
Yeah.
And it was fully. It was so two-dimensional. It was the defendants spoke, and I literally just saw that. I just saw it playing out in front of me. It was like a two-dimensional object trying to compete with a pyramid, a three-dimensional pyramid. There was no competition whatsoever. And I had to contain myself in the courtroom because I kept just going like pow under the table every time we were like just sogging it to him. It's absolutely epic. Loads of police that were there. They weren't allowed to give their evidence, so they just wasted all their time. And when I think it's like 5 o'clock when the judge finally said, "Okay, these two defendants are clearly not guilty," and I was like, "Can I say something?" He's like, "Yeah, sure." I was like, "Judge, I would like to say thank you, Your Honour, for making sure that justice was done. Secondly, I would like to say rise above. And thirdly, I would like to say this." I turned around to the gallery, and the arresting police officers were all sat there. They were all, these two women. And in my interview, they were trying to have a go at me for not wearing a mask and not being 2 meters apart, while they were both sat there touching each other, not wearing masks in the interview. And I didn't say anything in the interview, and I mouthed to them. Like, Right, so I turned around, and after I said rise above in the court, I said, "And you two coviet peasants, put your mask back on and sit 2 meters apart, please," in front of the whole court. It was absolutely epic. I really, really enjoyed that. And then we had some other disparaging comments with them outside as well. But yeah, it was a massive victory for everyone.
So is that the definition of the police wasting police time?
I reckon it cost all. They wasted a serious amount of money on this. My solicitor could not believe that they were going through with it because he already saw how shaky it was before he had all of their evidence omitted. He said it's like they were just going for broke. They had nothing else to do because they had already spent so much money on it. Probably cost like £100,000, something like that, with all the time and man hours, all the paperwork, the drones. It's a lot of money.
Maybe they'll think twice next time.
I hope so.
Or 3 times.
Yeah, they need to think 3 times. But here's the thing, everyone's saying to me is like, "Oh, you're going to be out all the protests now." Not necessarily. Not necessarily. And here's what I'll say, I'm not going to rush to the next protest that's got a massive crowd and get on the mic and do the big fuck the Coviet Union speech. That would be great. It'd be great for my ego. It'd be great because the people in the crowd are getting a little endorphin. Yeah, fuck. But do you know what? That's two-dimensional now. When you're just going up on a stage and just going, yeah, fuck the denying force, then you're just being the affirming force. And you're separating the denying force from you. That is not igniting the third force. Yeah. So don't ever think, everyone that's watching, that I'm never going to speak again. That's certainly not going to be the case. But I'm not going to be jumping at any stage just to speak for the sake of it. No, I'm going to sit and watch and wait very diligently. Because now I feel better armed than I've ever felt before. I feel more powerful than I've ever felt before in this struggle that we're in. And I'll wait for the denying force to present something to me, for me to whether it's going to be a speech or whatever. But that time will come.
It will appear.
It will appear. The opportunity will present itself. But yeah, also got to make sure that they've done the proper risk assessment wherever I'm going to speak as well. I need to see a copy of that before I touch the mic. I just find it so funny. Oh yeah, by the way, here's another important thing. Let's take it back to what we were talking about earlier, because this is obviously the important part. What I found out here was that what you can essentially do using this piece of Aborigine legislation that I've had constructed, it means that if someone else is putting on a protest, like Save Your Rights or Stand Up X or any of those allegedly questionable organisations, it is absolutely fair for anyone to assume, because they are registered organisations, that they have done a risk assessment. So you can just rock up at their protest with your own sound system and you can start chanting down the Coviet Union and you're completely covered by them. Isn't that interesting? That's good to know, isn't it? Because it says here, basically, the risk assessment doesn't even have to be written down. You don't even have to write it. You could literally, for anyone who doesn't know how to write a risk assessment, you get a piece of paper and a pen. You think about the situation. You write 2 lists of bullet points. 1, the potential bad things that could happen, and the second list is ways you could mitigate them. You write those 2 lists of bullet points. There's your risk assessment. You could write it on a piece of toilet paper. It's absolutely fine. And the reason I'm going into detail on this is because we spoke about this before in The Guardian. It's about studying your opponent.
Yeah.
No. We could say this is metaphysical warfare. Well, part of metaphysics is using legalese and legislation. This is spell casting as well. And if you want to really understand your opponent, then you need to know the tools that they're going to use against you. And that's why I think this £3,000 was money well spent. This is absolutely foolproof. Like the level of detail that this document goes into, she really extracted the gist of this particular rabbit hole out of the coronavirus bill. Yeah, I mean, like I say, we defeated the Coviet Union on the first page. That's how shaky the Coviet Union actually is. Yeah, so everyone watching, this will be up on the website tomorrow. Magics, that's your task. I'll send you the PDF. 72 pages long. You can download it. You can take a copy with it to a protest. If you're going to a protest and you worry about getting arrested and having your free speech curtailed, just take a copy of this with you. It will scare the shit out of them. This will be known to the Coviet Union, this document. They don't like it. And they're going to be really, really unhappy that I'm giving it to everyone. Because it's not my document. I didn't pay for this. Everyone else paid for it. They kindly donated £33 each. Actually, I think it did cost £3,300, roughly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so massive thank you to Keith Burgess and to everyone that did the fundraising. What a great example of what we've been talking about, though.
Yep. It's a clear demonstration of these principles.
Yeah. Quite funny, someone was saying to me earlier, oh, God, you and your conspiracy theories, what are you ever going to do about it? Well, I was like, I did sort of set a legal precedent in Crown Court on Monday against the Coviet Union. What did you do? He's like, oh. No, I don't mean to gloat, but yeah, this is the show where I gloat about this. I'm really happy. So, what's everyone saying? Have we got anyone in the comment section that is on any of these charges? Because I know my friend Mike, who I gave this document to earlier, he's on it and he's already over the moon. Big up all the Bournemouth crew. By the way, I don't know if you know this in the Guardians. Since this happened on Monday, there's 2 or 3 people in Bournemouth which were on just like being outside your house charges, £200 fine. They've all got a letter saying it's been dropped. They don't have to go to magistrates court. And it's all happened since Monday.
Yeah, I should imagine a lot of things have happened since Monday.
Yep. Yeah.
Things.
Yeah, we've really dropped a house brick into the Coviet pond. Now
who's
the
the
ripples.
character in Wizard of Oz? Is it Goodwin?
The what?
The character in the Wizard of Oz.
Which one?
The wizard is called Goodwin, I believe.
I didn't know he had a name.
Yeah, I'm sure he does.
What, the guy behind the curtain?
Yeah, can anybody in the comments?
Yeah, come on, someone in the comment section has got to know. What is the name of the guy that stands behind the curtain in the Wizard of Oz? Because obviously in our memes, it's like Bill Gates.
Yeah, there's a little guy standing on a box, and he's got a speaker system.
Someone's saying, what is the name of the document? The name of this document is the Rise Above Tactical Free Speech Warhead. That's what I've called it. That's it. This let me put it back on here. It's going to be on the website tomorrow. It's actually called The Skeleton Argument on Behalf of Defendants for Trial. This was only like the first draft of her argument. This is her getting warmed up. Imagine what we could do, what kind of tactical weapon we could construct if I got a payout of 10 grand. I guarantee if I got 10 grand, I would spend at least half of it purely on fighting the Coviet Union. The other half, I think, some recuperated essence, something like that, some reparations for lost essence of 8 months. I think everyone deserves some reparations for the last 16 months, don't they?
Yeah, well, it's good to have some good news for a change.
It is. And do you know what? I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that not just like donated all the messages and people like saying, "Oh my God, this has cheered me up no end." Other people seem to be even happier about this than I am, because it's a bit of good news for people. You know, if anyone was going to get butt fucked by the coviet union, it was going to be me. You know, I really put myself out there. You know, if anyone was going to be made an example of, they were going to do it to me, and they couldn't. And all you had to do is just believe in yourself. All you had to do was apply first principles. All you had to do was just say, actually, I've certainly not done anything wrong. And I might have a bit of a case that the crime is being committed against me here, but I'm going to stick to my guns. And I will admit, when I made that video last week about the fundraiser, I was shaken. Everyone can see it. Like, I was worried. And I apologise for that moment of weakness. I was even considering like taking the plea deal and doing the means tested fine that was less than 10 grand. I was considering it because I didn't want to get like 10 grand.
Yeah.
Well, the 3 grand would have been paid for, but if it hadn't worked, and then I'd have had the court costs, the prosecution costs on top of the fine. That would have been a serious setback for our thing here.
Well, that's in the video I made on Monday or Moon Day. I mentioned about the test of nerve. There's always a point where it's a real test of nerve, and you just got to hold on. It's like a tipping point in the triad.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, they tested my nerve.
Yeah.
They called my bluff, but then I called their bluff, and I won. So fuck them. It's as simple as that. It was literally a Mexican standoff. Okay. I'm very fortunate to have an amazing fundraiser team that raised that £3.3 thousand. You know, otherwise me and Shelley would have had to fork that out ourselves. I tell you what, it's money well spent, because this thing that we've constructed, it's foolproof. It uses the coviet union's legislation against them, which is the best thing. And then if that doesn't work, then it uses human rights law to absolutely smash them. And we didn't even get anywhere near that, which is fantastic. So big up the Rise Above Legal team. Literally top class.
Well, I think because...
Don't believe me?
Sorry.
That's a...
Go on, Inner Guardians.
Yeah, well, this particular sort of war that we're in, it's unlike all the others, because all the others have been tanks and guns and dictators and so on and so forth. Because they're going for the final frontier of consent, it's all of this. We can kind of see it on a day-to-day basis. It's all about like presumption, assumption, and getting you to believe in something that's not real. And yes. I don't know if you've got time. Did you see the video I sent about hypnotism? You've probably been a bit busy. You probably didn't watch it.
Yeah, mate. I have been. My mind's been all over the place, to be honest.
Well, yeah, I shared a very interesting video from the perspective of a hypnotist, a stage hypnotist, and the comparisons to what's been taking place over the last 18 months. And it's literally a textbook. So all of the techniques that a stage hypnotist uses is exactly what the coviet union have been doing to the population.
Yeah, they're like a B-grade Paul Daniels.
Yeah. Now, he said something that I picked up on that maybe others didn't. He said that hypnotists can actually get you to see something that's not there. They can equally get you to not see something that is there. And I think that is key to what's taking place right now.
Boom. I hadn't even considered this, because I used to study hypnotism quite a lot. And you're absolutely right. One of the most impressive hypnotist tricks is not creating an illusion. It's actually masking something that is right there in front of them, and they can actually see directly through it. And I've seen that. I used to watch it for hours. The big stage group hypnotism sessions.
Yeah.
And I always thought that was the most impressive one, where you could actually create some sort of filter in someone's perception, so they cannot see something that's right in front of their face.
Yeah. So when it comes to altering reality of a population, they can actually delete or make it impossible to see something that's blatantly obvious. Now, for those who are not under the spell of hypnosis, they can clearly see it. And this explains a lot of the phenomenon that we're experiencing on a day-to-day basis with people around us, friends, family, work colleagues, and even
It
the
really is
authorities.
hypnotism. It is. You're so right, mate.
Yeah, yeah. And even hypnotism is done using triads. My teachers were both hypnotists. Now, a lot of people ask me whether I'm a hypnotherapist or hypnotist or whatever. I'm not. But what I do know is I know how not to be hypnotized. That's part of my personal protection. And this
I'd
is
like to see someone try and hypnotise you. Not a chance.
and for everybody watching or listening, don't underestimate the power of hypnosis. And just exclusive to like a hypnotist, or if you go to a show or something like this, or it's a rare occurrence, I would suggest that this whole realm is under the effects of hypnosis or hypnotism.
Yes, me too. I agree.
And those behind it can insert things that you can see. Also, they can delete things so that you don't see them.
But we can still see it, and we can see their hands doing it as well. We catch them out all the time.
Yeah.
Editing, deleting, inserting. Me and Magic's of like I think they're editing the timeline again, sending me little posts. We catch them out all the time, changing the definitions of words.
Yeah.
Changing historical events. Yeah. I always said I'd like to think that I'm one of those percentages of people that can't be hypnotized, but I think that goes for all of us here. That's self-evident. Because remember, we're not talking about some £1,000 a show stage hypnotist here. We're talking about a lineage of dark occultists that have perfected their media spell. What's the god of media? Do you remember what the Greek is? It the Greek god media? It's like a spellcaster.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, that to me, that's the definition of a human number 4 is somebody that can't be hypnotized. A person 1, 2, and 3, they can be hypnotized very easily. Once you transcend to level 4, then you can't be hypnotized. Now, obviously, there's degrees or grades of each level, especially number 4. So you could be sort of just about there, or you could be sort of very experienced on level 4. I would probably say anybody watching or is very interested in, excuse me, in Rise Above would either be approaching 4 or is 4 and beyond.
3.5 crew.
3.3.
3.3. I'm a man 3.3. Yes. God, we can't get away from it though, because it hasn't slowed down the seeping of the 3.3 power. I'm still getting the same amount of messages. I'm actually getting more people who are not part of our usual mystery school audience that are messaging me and it's like, why am I keep seeing 33 since you've started talking about it? It's not because I'm a wizard. Okay, I'm not a magi. We opened the portal together. It was a collective energy that opened that portal that now that everyone around us is seeing 33.
Yeah, and the thing is, right, excuse me, once you understand this type of thing, you can start to see, just by looking at the mainstream media or the narratives, you can actually, it's very clear to see. So, I don't know if you saw on my Facebook, I mentioned about the origins of this thing coming from a bat soup.
Yeah.
I put it on Facebook. Well,
that's great.
Because more or less, you've got two theories from the same people. They told us it's a bat, and then now they're telling us it's from the lab. So now everybody's arguing as to whether it's bat versus lab.
But would you like to know the funny thing? And it's not what I posted about the official conspiracy theory that Chinese people don't eat bat soup, because they do. The funny thing is that the lab theory also is bat as well, because the lab theory is that they took a bat from Yunnan cave and created the hybrid chimera Dave's ice cream protein virus. And that's bat too. So yeah, the bat theme is it's funny. Like,
well, what this will do, right? Because they've deliberately put those stories out, those narratives.
Yeah.
Because that gives you the two versions, the left and the right. So people are kind of debating and arguing over the left and the right, whether it's a bat or lab gain of function theory.
Yeah.
When in actual fact, you need to take the third option. Maybe it's none of them. It's a distraction.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that the lab theory will. I always said that's the official conspiracy theory. I said that from last year, even when I was uncovering it. And people say, "Why are you uncovering that?" I said because some people are only ready for this one. You can't go, if you're going directly from mainstream narrative. You can't go from A right to Z and say actually this is a metaphysical disease that is bringing in the fourth industrial revolution. That's not going to work. You need to go from A to B. Lab leak is just B, in my opinion. It's just one step deeper than the official narrative of bat soup.
Yeah.
or pangolin wet market. Yeah, but that's a funny thing. The bat soup thing is like, what did I say? Even the village idiot of Hubei province knows that Wuhan wet market doesn't have bats, and it certainly doesn't serve soup. So it is a proper mockery story if you think about it. And yeah, with people getting banned for talking about lab leaks last year, which is hilarious, I think.
Yeah, it's all part of the chaos because, excuse me, I actually think, excuse me, I actually think that they produce these stories like a lot of other stories where they always put an opposer. So, you know, one minute they say that it's this, next minute they say it's that. It's to create, it's emotional priming, which is like the foundation of hypnosis. That's the foundation of hypnosis, literally. Or it's one part of the triad of hypnosis. The other one is suggestion to the mind. That's why they keep repeating certain things. And the third one is the physical, which is the rituals.
And each one is affirming the other, isn't it? They're all parts of the puzzle. I tell you what, my mum has always been 50% red pilled by me. She knows that like the government lie and they're probably doing this to do something else. She accepts that.
Yeah.
But I've started to show her about what's happening with the health service. You know how like you can't get a doctor and everything. And I was like, you do realise that each one of these aspects is feeding the next. Like the pingdemic is also sending doctors off. You can't get through to the GP. So people are staying at home. They're not getting treated. So they're getting sick and then they try to go to the hospital. But when they go to the hospital, if they don't have a positive PCR test, they're probably not going to go in. And then we saw, 100 nurses are leaving because of they don't want to be speared. I said, well, what do you think that's going to do to the coviet ward that's already, yeah? I said, Mum, you see how each of these things is like a self-fulfilling prophecy. They're all one part of a triad of basically bringing down the health. She even said to my auntie, I'm starting to think even the most crazy things that Lance says are now true. That's how she put it, because you know I go full rabbit with them. I don't dress anything up with my parents. I tell them straight to the full rabbit.
The plandemic is to usher in the pandemic.
Yeah, because the real pandemic is the oh god, should we call it Adrian? That 3-letter thing that's like Dave's ice cream. The thing, ADE. Can we say that?
Yeah, I think.
Call it Adrian. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that Adrian thing that they reckon the spearing is going to produce, that's going to be the real pandemic, in my opinion, that the coming 5G enabled perma-Schwab implant will be to like manage. Because this is where this is going. And listen how much we have to occult this to even talk about it.
I've got a jingle for it. You remember the film Rocky? Adrian!
Yes! Oh god, because people that have it will probably sound like that as well. Adrian! That's so bad. Yeah, so no, you're absolutely right. That is going to be the coming pandemic when everyone has basically Adrianed themselves from like repeated triad of spears each year. An annual spearing triad will just Adrian you. Adrian.
I wrote my local MP a very interesting letter where I broke it down that the actual policies and everything that they're doing to supposedly combat the pandemic is actually harsher than what they're trying to protect us from.
Well, it's creating the actual pandemic.
Yeah.
It's actually like, what is that called? Is that like, there's a name for that, where you put like a synthetic substitute in place where it actually creates the real thing. Oh God, I'm trying to. I've heard of this.
Well,
before.
I call it problem, reaction, problem.
That's good.
This is a triad.
Yeah, that's definitely a negative triad.
Yeah.
Even more so than problem, reaction, solution. That's usually negative enough in its application. Problem, reaction, problem.
Yeah.
But that's just like a never-ending sort of like helix of triad where it just sort of like never. Yeah, that's not good.
No, it'd be a descending triad.
Yeah, a descending triad. What's that comment there? Adrian is going to be like, oh God, we've just created a new thing. Adrian, that's brilliant. People are already quoting it. Adrian is going to be like Children of Man. Is that film where people can't have kids anymore? What's it called? Children of Men. What's it saying? I haven't seen this film, but I'm pretty sure it's about like post-apocalyptic time where there are no more children, no one has kids.
No, I've not seen it.
Mm.
Maybe we could do a t-shirt.
I already feel a meme coming on. So, if Magix or Virus Man, if you're watching, let's get Children of Men, the film, and Adrian out of Rocky, memed into spear damage, into a meme. I think we can do that, can't we? Rise above, we can do anything.
Rise above, generate, rise above, extinguish fear, rise above.
So yeah, it's a big celebratory midweek chat. Thanks everyone for tuning in, 130 people. Thanks for stopping by on a Wednesday at Rise Above. I thought we'd have a bit of a longer chat tonight because Friday night is going to be party time.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's happening Friday?
Well, Friday night is officially Omar's birthday party, my stag do, and now it's going to be fuck the Coviet Union party as well. So it's going to be a music show that we will be stopping and having a chat. We'll probably all be pretty wasted. But it's going to be good fun, so please stop by. We've got, obviously, Omar Beats, Magix, Andy PG on the decks, myself, MC Manic, who we've had before, and we're also going to be inviting guest MC Spitter coming down from Southend-on-Sea, my good friend. He's going to be MCing the Garage and Grime. So it's going to be party stream on Friday. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Do we need ID?
Yeah, need double spearage to listen in. Maybe we should talk about that because I've been, now I've been reignited my third force with this massive victory. I've just doubled down. I'm not letting up, and we've got this announcement on Freedom Day, the same day when I was granted not guilty. There was an announcement about the procedure pass, the spearing certificate. And everyone apparently has to have 2 procedures to be able to attend a busy nightclub or a festival from September.
Can you imagine the door policy? You'd have to there'll be a nurse, a doctor, a policeman, a bouncer, just to get in.
Imagine the cost for promoters.
Yeah.
All that extra cost. So yeah, we've seen I made a post, obviously. I'm seeing a lot of regular people kick off about this announcement, but I'm not seeing anything from DJs, MCs, and promoters. And I just put tumbleweed, and then I started going after people. I started messaging. Oh, right. So you've made a post to promoters. You made a post about the people complaining about anti-vaxxers. What about your policy? Where are you going to stick your sword in the dirt about this? So I think now we need to do that. We need to press onto people in these positions of influence and power that have the ability to say no with much more reach than the average person. We need to press on those people now.
But is it still a conspiracy theory? I mean, it was a conspiracy theory last year.
I know, and that's what must be very difficult because I've seen some people defending it.
Well, I've had debates with people last year when I said about the identification and all this stuff, and now they're telling me that that we should have it, and I'm saying that. So it's like really
they're arguing for the conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
That's the funny thing that someone put a post about conspiracy theorists earlier on today, and I was like, is someone unironically using the term conspiracy theorist in 2021? Really? And then and this is the person that came back to me with like, oh yeah, well you can go on about conspiracies all day, but what are you going to do about them? And I was like, well, this is what I did about it. And then he was like, yeah, but you're going to sit there and either pretend it's not happening, argue for it, complain about people that are trying to do something about it, tell them there's no point because they can't do anything, and then when they prove they have literally done something about it, you're just going to say, yeah, whatever. Is that what we're up against? That's actually a more powerful denying force than the actual denying force. I'll take the denying force on any day. I did it on Monday, no problem, they're pussies. But the kind of apathy from that level of the denying force, I don't even know how to deal with that.
Yeah, I've reached a point. It's like a dead end with a lot of people that I talk to. Literally, if you want conspiracy theories, just go on the government website.
Yeah.
It's all there. Because there's always this thing, there's always this kind of comment of like, oh, I'll only accept official information and data. Even though like there's absolutely no proof that it's real data anyway. It's like a merry-go-round. You just go around in circles, or a revolving door.
Some of the best data to disprove the Soviet Union's claims of a deadly pandemic is their own statistics. Just look at the Office of National Statistics and compare the stats to like 1960s and 70s when there was Hong Kong flu, and then look at Spanish flu and look what happened to the population and the death rate, and then try and find it here. Never happened. It simply didn't happen. And people can say whatever they want about that. I could confidently go in front of any judge in the land with the right information from the Office of National Statistics and actually I think I could prove in a court of law. I'm not going to attempt it, but I think I could do it. That it wasn't actually a pandemic.
I remember years ago, I actually wore a tinfoil hat. And we were testing out certain things. And me and my I don't know the best way of describing him. He was an occultist, so we were trying out these tinfoil hats, and people generally knew that we were wearing them. We started to disguise them underneath other hats, and we would kind of joke about it when we was in the workplace.
You wear it? What? You didn't just like wear it once? You were like wearing it regularly?
Yeah. Apologies for the dog.
It's okay.
He wants to be on the show. Yeah. So. We obviously took a lot of stick for that, which we took it with humour. We thought it was quite amusing, and also just to get a reaction from the mundane world. But now, when you look at, the people that laugh at the conspiracy theorists, they're walking around with the masks, rubber gloves, screens, hand gel, sanitation gel.
It's like when I did the video and I was getting the coviet wardens, and there's one really greasy one, and I was following him, filming him. He's like, you fucking tinfoil hat. And I was like, well, firstly, that's an anti-conspiracy theorist slur, which you've even failed to execute properly. You say I'm wearing a tinfoil hat. I'm not a tinfoil hat. And I was like, who are you to talk? You're walking along in the street wearing a high-vis jacket, a tabard, and a mask on your face with a screen telling people that they should be taking an experimental gene therapy jab. and I'm a tinfoil hat. I'm just here with a GoPro just filming you.
Yeah.
Yeah, massive inversion.
Yeah, I mentioned it before, but I threw away my television around about 20 years ago, I think it is now. There's actually a skip conveniently parked outside my house that day, and something told me, a voice in my head told me to pick up my television and throw it in the skip.
Was it Rick Mail?
Nah.
He says that Rick Mail says that, but that's one of his last quotes before he died.
Yeah.
He's like, take your television and throw it away.
Yeah. I recommend everybody to watch that. I think was it his last movie that he made.
Yeah, and the movie was about 9/11 skeptics.
Yeah. Well, people often say to me, "How can you live without a television?" How do you know? I say, look, I don't need to watch television. I just look at reality. Just look at this realm. There's enough comedy. There's enough terror. There's enough drama. especially now.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like every day is a soap opera.
Well, I said I used to have to like dig out things to research. Now I just turn on the mainstream media and just like decode what's happening. There's much more occultism happening in the mainstream media than any old dusty book that I can fish out or some weird obscure website I can find. Just turn on the denying force station. It will yeah.
Well, once you understand the forces, once you de-occult things, and you can start to see simultaneously the front, reverse, and top aspect and bottom aspect of whatever's in front of you. It's literally like it's like the Truman Show or something.
Oh, absolutely. And what you said earlier on when we in this show, when we first started talking about the third force, it was very powerful. It's like, you know, you were saying, like, you might think you're in a bad situation, but everything, you know, it sounds like a cliche, but, you know, essentially everything happens for a reason. You know, with this situation that I've been in, okay, yeah, it cost some money to get out of it. I was under conditions for 8 months that weren't pleasurable, but the situation that I'm in now is undoubtedly better than I was in before I went there and make that speech. Now, through that barrister and through this situation, I've gained a level of understanding that I didn't have before, that now I can give away to thousands of other people instantly.
Yep.
That has been that catalyst that the denying force presented me. I've managed to recatalyze it into this. This is really powerful. This is a massive advantage. That wouldn't have happened if the denying force hadn't presented itself. That's how we master it.
It's giving you some instructions to the game.
Because we talk about the map and the rule book a lot.
Yeah.
Where it's like, for this particular game that we're in now, I feel like I've just mastered a part of it. I've learnt something very powerful about something that was allegedly being used against me. It's not. Protects me.
Yeah, and on that video I produced on Moon Day, this Moon Day, I don't know if you saw it, but there's a picture of the game Snakes and Ladders.
Yeah. Which
is a triad. Because you go along, you can go up, you can also go down.
Yeah, and that's the triad. The ladder goes up, the snake goes down, and is it a checkerboard?
Yeah, with numbers on.
A checkerboard with numbers on is the horizontal plane.
Now the difference is,
how Masonic is that?
Yeah, the difference is that you play with a dice or die. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's pretty random because you just throw it, you just cast it, and whatever number presents itself gives you the moves that you can make. So you don't get to choose which square you land on. So when you de-occult things and you have the instructions, then basically you don't use the dice or the die. You can choose what numbers that you go on to your advantage. It's choice. So that game, they're removing choice. It's all down to happening, chance.
I've never thought about Snakes and Ladders before. That is literally Freemasonry in a game. That is literally de-occulting the third force. So the die represents the occult. It represents occulting the third force away and taking away free will and putting it down to random chance. So when you're on the horizontal plane, you actually have your third force removed, and you only see like a little elucidation of it when you're moving up and down on a snake or a ladder, which is actually also governed by the die.
Yeah,
outside of your governance.
Yeah, I would describe it more as, so for instance, you've got the law of three. So you've got you're going along, then you've got your up, and then you've got your descending. So that gives you three. The die represents the fourth, level number 4. So for instance, if you're not on level number 4, you're a victim of whatever the die gives you. Is that your dog?
It's the neighbour's dog.
Ah, okay.
I've only got cats for metaphysical protection.
Yeah, so when you're level number 4, you remove the die and you've got choice, free will, in its truest sense.
So then you can see the snakes, you can see the ladders, and you can choose to either step over them or use them.
Yeah, you choose which numbers to your advantage. To get to, the end of the game is your aim.
Well, on Monday, I literally felt like as soon as she whipped out this document and she turned over the first page and erected that triad, it was like snatching the dice out of their hands. To be honest, I'm not even sure they had the dice in this particular interaction in the first place, because the prosecution was completely horizontal. And for anyone that's new to us, we keep going on about this. We're conceptualizing here, okay? Inner Guardians has presented this concept of the horizontalist only acting on the two-dimensional horizontal physical plane, no ascension, no third force. And we're actually talking about a way to ignite that.
Yeah.
Inner Guardians.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's what the Inner Guardians is all about. It was. Can you imagine, like, me trying to explain this from day one?
No, it's taken like, how long have you been with us? You came with episode 16.
Yeah.
No, wait a minute. You came. Oh shit! You came on episode 17, didn't you?
17, yeah.
Which is exactly halfway to episode 33. Shit! I've just realised that it's like we got to episode 17 on our own, and me and Andy, like I always said, like before you came along, when we started doing a show, we would like press go live. We had no DJs or anything, and he was like, we would just hold on and just keep going, like keep talking, and we get to the end 4 or 5 hours later. We got to episode 17, and then we needed, when the student is ready, the teacher presents himself. I'm such a believer in that. Now that this has happened, you know what I mean? It's really shown that to me. But yeah, so you came around and you had 17 episodes with us before episode 33, and then everything's changed since episode 33.
Yeah,
as far as I'm concerned. Oh my god, 133 people watching. As I just said that, shut up, shut the door. Gosh. Don't know if you can see how many people are watching. I can see it here, 133. Yeah.
Well, on that episode 17, when I did the first presentation, it was very difficult to present that because I was de-occulting a lot of information. And
you did very well, though. You did well. It was a lot.
Yeah.
A 2-hour presentation?
Yeah, and I tried to explain that this would all make sense over time, because it's not, it's like presenting a very big meal that can't be eaten in one sitting.
Yeah. You have to build a massive table as well.
Yeah.
To lay it all out.
And there's this, I think it's connected with maybe Donald Trump, where they say something like, you can't be told, you have to be shown.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there is some truth in that.
Yeah, for sure.
So I could sit here and talk all day and night, but until you're shown it, or you receive a direct impression of it in your day-to-day life, it doesn't really mean anything. You haven't digested it. So it remains just kind of rhetoric or information until it's processed through the trivium, the input, processing, and then the output.
No, I've never understood this so fundamentally until now. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Because now I feel, although I understood this stuff before, now with the understanding I have now, I feel like I was nodding along before. Like, oh yeah. I understood what you were saying.
Yeah.
But now I understand it. That's the difference.
Well, that is
the difference.
That some people will understand, some people won't. But so, for instance, when you reach level 4, things start to quicken. There's an acceleration towards escape velocity. You've heard me mention this before.
Yes.
So, in order to escape, you need a certain amount of velocity, or to transcend. Escape is probably not the best word, but to transcend, you need to develop velocity, and that there must be a quickening, and that happens once you've grasped the law of 3, or the 3 forces.
I can feel it already, mate.
And that will give you a frequency, a resonance. And it also means that you won't be resonating. So, for instance, if you're stuck on level 1, 2, or 3, and you're only operating 2 forces, that means that you haven't got the right frequency to. Basically, you're almost trapped. It's like a prison.
Yeah.
The horizontal prison. Once you've got the 3, and then you start to change your frequency and how you resonate, then you'll be a lot quicker. You can detect, you can spot things, your awareness,
a different altitude.
Yeah, and also to maintain certain states, you need a certain type of energy. Now, while you're on horizontal, you're just being depleted and drained of your energy.
Yeah, you're always the meal at the harvest, at the energy harvesting. You're not even an observer or a consumer. You are always the meal when you're on that horizontal plane.
Yeah, so you often hear people talk about the flow. Now, you can't have a flow between 2 points, even 2 points of perception. That won't give you a flow. A flow state only comes into play when there's a third point, because then it can circulate. You can't have circulation between 2 points. It just goes like a ping pong, backwards and forwards, which means that the force is actually meeting itself. So when people have a sense that things aren't flowing, that is the manifestation of 2 points.
Third force removed.
Yeah. So when you experience any form of flow, and this can be in any situation, any subject, that means that there's a third point, which takes it off in a different direction, and then it can flow around. Remember what I said about symbolism in movement, not stationary. Life is movement. Anything static is dead. It's a dead end. And that applies to our health, the way we walk, the way we move, the way we speak, the way we communicate, the way we interact, the way 1 3 meets another 3. You're 33. And life is about relationships. It's how we relate to ourselves, to this realm. That's why I always talk about interaction. Interaction can mean anything.
And I seriously think that the Coviet Union has been a war on interaction.
Yeah.
Every single aspect of the restrictions put upon us have limited interactions. Everything that's happening in the world of retail, limiting interactions. Everything that's happening in the world of events, in hospitality, shopping, everything, limiting interactions with other human beings.
You know why that is?
It's to stop the flow of essence between us.
Well, right. When there's any form of hypnosis or manipulation taking place, right, those who are doing it have to be very, very careful that they don't lose control of the subject or the target. So in order to keep it on track and to manifest what they want, they have to put controls in place. Now, this is normally done on the physical level. So even when somebody's trying to do hypnosis on you, they'll try to manipulate you physically. They'll get you to move or stand or perform some kind of physical ritual. And the reason why they're doing that is that they're putting controls in place. Because, for instance, if it goes wrong, they will lose control of the subject or the experiment or whatever they're trying to do. So you have to, it's vital that anybody that is using manipulation has to have some controls in place. And this is why all of these control measures have been put in place. For no reason. They're just doing it because they have to control you physically. Because otherwise, if their mind control doesn't have control, they'll lose control. And it could really backfire.
One is a fail-safe for the other.
Yeah. Yeah, it's called a contingency. In hypnosis, they use the word contingency all the time, and that's what it is. It's a contingency measure to maintain the success of whatever manipulation they're using. And all this standing in a queue, 2 meters apart, wearing a mask, doing this, do that, do. I mean, you walk into any venue now, and there's like 300 requests written on a sign or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't done it, but I'd be quite interested to walk around, say, a shop and see how many signs or control mechanisms or instructions that they're giving you. It'd probably be a lot more than we realise.
What, so just to count all of the every single little sticker, every single little sign?
Yeah, that was not any particular instruction that wasn't there before.
Yeah, all new extra instructions.
Yeah, I think you'd be quite surprised actually how many there are.
Probably 33 in each store.
Probably 333.
Yeah, probably more likely. Yeah, add a 3, add a 0 and a 3 to it.
Yeah, so once you understand these things, because they don't generally teach you how hypnosis works at school, because that's part of it. Your education system. That's the suggestion to the mind. The programming.
It's such a multi-pronged, multi-layered attack on us. It's ludicrous. Legislative, hypnotic, petrochemical, our food, our drugs.
Well, the film They Live?
Yes.
It's literally like that.
Rowdy Roddy Piper.
Yeah, the sunglasses would represent possibly... it could represent a complete triad. It could also represent the ascension to level 4. So when you pop them on, you're on level 4.
Well, no, take them off, isn't it? Because when you put them on, you see a bay. You don't see the real world, do you? Wouldn't it be the other way around?
No,
when the sunglasses actually shield what's really there. They make you see. Oh no, they don't. Sorry, I'm wrong.
Yeah.
They actually make you see things normally.
Yeah.
But in the real world, it says obey, consume. I've never thought about it like that.
Yeah, I mean...
That's an excellent film.
I mean, they've told us through all these films. Like, to the occultists, all these movies are documentaries. Factual.
Yeah.
It's not fiction.
Factual documentaries. Oh, by the way, there's comments that when I said there's 133 people tuned in, everyone said there's only 114 on my screen. On my screen, I can see the people on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Periscope. We now have 138 people tuned in. Big up everyone tuning in. It's Rise Above.
Rise above, generate, rise above, extinguish fear, rise above, abstract.
So we've covered the epic win against the Coviet Union this week, and the tactical warhead is going to be on the website tomorrow for everyone to download. We've talked about first principles, third force elucidations with regards to all of this. We've also covered the other announcement this week, like the spearing passports. I feel like there's something else that is there anything else that we haven't covered before? Because we're not going to have a chance to really go into any depth on Friday, because it's going to be a party. Is there anything else that's been that's pronged your attention since we last spoke? Or any further elucidations about the things that we have been speaking about?
Well, they kind of multiply. When you get one revelation. I mean, look, this has got to be the best apocalypse ever.
It's shaping up to be fantastic. I mean, I already felt like that before Monday. I just had, like, since you come out with this from that Gnostic, this is the best apocalypse ever, that has actually quite changed things for me, because when I think about it, it's like, yeah, this is because, like, there's no bombs dropping on us at the moment, touch wood. There's no one kicking down the door. This is a consensual apocalypse.
Yeah.
And it's shaping up to be pretty good. It's getting really good now. I'm starting to quite enjoy what's going on now.
Yeah, this is why
that might sound sick or perverse, but you have to understand this is a different perspective.
Yeah, I try to remind people, look, it doesn't matter how bad things appear to be at the moment. In our recent history, things have been a lot worse on the physical level.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of catalyst being sprayed everywhere at the moment. And let's take this back to Law of One. because I've started going through the original channelings again from episode 1. I'm on about like 7 or 8 at the moment.
Yeah.
And apparently, again, you have to watch The Law of One 3 times to really understand it. So I'm just going through the second time now. But it is. I will keep going on about The Law of One because it is absolutely fundamental to everything that we're talking about. All of Master Lee's teachings, all of the Inner Guardian stuff is fully Law of One at its essential base, because that is the only fundamental teaching of the I was about to say the realm. It goes much further than that. So yeah, if anyone, I'm going to put the link in the Telegram for what I think is the best version of the channeling. It's got it's the channeling typed up with the robotic voice. That's not too bad to listen to, and you've got the words on the screen. And when he talks about self, other self, and service to others and service to self, and how basically when you concentrate on service to others, it's not just service to self because they're you too. It's actually much more rewarding than service to self. And the fact that I'm now innocent is actually, for me, the least thing that I'm happy about this week.
Yeah, and on that point, with regards to your pleading, so basically you said no.
I said not guilty.
Yeah, I made a post today about one of the hardest things to teach a self-defense student is the ability to say no.
Yes.
Now,
I didn't mean to say yes there, but yes, that's right.
So we're educated to always say yes to authority, to the teacher, to so on and so forth, which in itself isn't a bad thing. But we also, or equally, need to have the ability to say no. When something's wrong, we should, and we have the right to say no. And it's actually a technique. And I teach students to stand in front of a mirror and practice verbalizing the word no. So I said there's 3 things that people need to learn to say, and that's no, nope, and you could depends on what version you want to give. You could say
no very strongly.
Yeah, you could say fuck right off, or no fucking chance.
Yeah.
So,
I always said in my speeches last year, I said don't ever underestimate the power of one of the smallest words in the English language. It's no. The no gives you, when someone gives you a command which you don't want to do, if you just say no, there's no room for negotiation there. There's no wriggle room. There's no biopsy. There's no 2 ways about it. There's no triad. It's just no. And it's very powerful.
yeah, and I think we're going to come into a time, especially when we get to September. Well, actually, no. It's starting from now, in the present moment. People are going to need that as a tool or a weapon.
Yes, they are. I've had a couple of people in my inbox this week who were hardcore pro-science, pro-coviet people who've admitted to being fence sitters and have asked for some information. And I was like, well, I was like, I'm fence sitting now. What can you give me about this pandemic? I said, well, what aspect of it? You're a bit late to the party. Give me some pointers there. He goes, well, I said, look, watch my video about Dave's ice cream virus. The one that got banned for it. And I was like, start there. And if you want to know more, come back. So yeah, I've given a half rabbit to a couple of previous fence sitters this week, which has been very good. And that was like, maybe they thought, oh well, now it's official. Lance was right. He won in court. He didn't break any rules. And this is the funniest thing I have to say. I broke on that day every single rule on the coronavirus bill. I travelled outside my county. I didn't wear a mask. I was within 2 meters of people. I was in a group of 30 people. I was even telling them to form a human shield at one point. They weren't allowed to use that in court though. Gutted. They could really use that against me, but they didn't. I broke every single coronavirus rule, and they couldn't pin a single one on me. That's really interesting. And there's literally video evidence of me doing it. They spent tens of thousands of pounds on it was even reported in the police report that they had my car on the ANPR cameras following me leaving Dorset that day, and they tried to intercept me as I crossed the county lines from Dorset, but because I took a little detour which was completely random. I didn't know this was happening.
Yeah.
Because I took a detour, I actually evaded just on the county lines where they'd stopped to pull me over to stop me from going to the protest. And this was all admitted, so yeah, it's...
Well, the illusion is being exposed. I mean, these so-called laws, I would use the word illusion.
They are an illusion.
I mean, I've had people say to me, like, you have to wear a mask. It's the law.
No, it's not.
And yeah, it's difficult to know where to start, you know. It's actually not the law. It's at best a suggestion.
Yeah, it's at best a suggestion. Well, look, I don't care what anyone says now. Like, I'm willing to say I am living proof that none of those are laws. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe they are. Maybe I used their law, but because I was protesting against the Coviet Union, that actually allowed me to break every single rule written by the Coviet Union. Now, if that's the law, then that's a super inverted conundrum.
Yeah.
We will give you 333 ridiculous rules about what you can and can't do, about what you have to wear on your face, about how far you have to stand apart from your friends, about not meeting your friends, your family. You can't meet this many people, you can't travel there, you can't do any of those things unless you're involved in a political protest against the rules that are telling you can't do those things. Then you can just do whatever you want.
Well,
that's what it says.
If you really want to take it back to first principles, if you really want to take it back to first principles, and I often think about this, these characters that are trying to enforce these so-called laws or rules or policies, regulations, whatever you want to call them, are actually employees of us, the people.
Yeah. And if you read the rule book only once, you already understand it better than everyone that's enforcing it.
Yeah.
The thing is, right, if they had an understanding of this document, I wouldn't have had to pay £3,300 to the barrister to construct this tactical nuke, because they would have just realised they couldn't. It proves that they have no idea what they're doing.
Mm.
They have no idea what they're doing. They wasted tens of thousands of pounds.
Well, I think originally they may have done, but they've just they've lost the first principles of their own guidelines. That's literally what they've done. At some point, I mean, I'm not talking about the stuff that they've got now, but all laws or acts, statutes, regulations. I personally believe they've lost the first principles for themselves on them.
Mm. Well, yeah, because the first principles would be about causing harm to others when it comes to laws.
Well, something as simple as governed by consent, policed by consent. You know, they have already told us, or we've already told them.
Because that's what it actually says, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's a contract. Like, you have to consent. They have to basically confidence trick you into a contractual obligation to consent.
Yeah.
Because this is what I said when I got let off. I was like, don't ever think the Coviet Union is some big, scary, totalitarian monster. It's not. It's just a clever confidence trick. Don't fall for it.
Mm.
It's just a load of legalese and words. But if you have someone, if someone knows the spell, you can just like take it, just recatalyze and just go. Shut
And
up.
would it be fair to say that trying to explain the definition of consent, say 10 years ago, would have been a lot more difficult than it is today for everybody?
But yeah, about 10 years ago, people would have also sort of said, why are you bothering to speak about something so sort of inherent and basic? What's the point? No one would have understood the relevance.
Yeah.
Until something like this is presented to everyone. Or not presented, it's shoved in their face.
Yeah. We're being shown. The denying force is showing us.
Yeah. And that's when we come back to and this is law of one, right? The Law of One says that even the most evil aspects of the denying force, that is an equal part of creation to you, and it's serving an equally important role.
Yeah.
The denying force is there to serve a role, to provide catalyst for spiritual progression. Without the denying force, you don't have a triad. Without a triad, you can't do anything. You're not in control. So, you know, these characters, this double R mafia, or you know, if they are really dark occultists, like we believe they are, their mind, body, soul complex, because they, as I understand the Law of One, if they're fourth dimensional negative charge, they would be a collective consciousness at some level. They're not really individuals. Well, as the Law of One teaches, right, what they're doing at the highest level, they believe it is actually service to others. The highest level of service to self, when you're creating all this negative catalyst by raping, torching, pillaging on an industrial level, well, that's actually service to others, because you're providing catalyst for spiritual progression.
Yeah.
That's what they believe, and that's what the Law of One actually teaches. So the dark occultists, they follow the Law of One too. They are actually very good practitioners of the Law of One. And this is a very interesting concept.
Yeah.
Aleister Crowley was all about Law of One.
I always imagine that these characters, they have their private meetings and they probably sit there laughing in terms of, like, they have to play a role to present the denying force in this realm or this interval. And, you know, they're actors, and, you know, the world is a stage.
They understand that, because they don't have the veil of forgetting. That's what the Ra channelings say. That when
I think high level ones, yeah. Maybe the low level ones are just kind of useless kind of idiots. Or
I'm talking about the conscious ones that remember, the ones that know what they're here to do. They're level 4 for me. Yeah.
Yep.
There's not many of them though. That's what Ra says as well. He says there's not many of them. They are very, very small in number.
Sure.
With a whole army of third level horizontalists.
Yeah.
Working for them here in this realm.
Yeah, I think that's that's a good description. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been thinking about this deeply, and really sort of, because I always sort of try to rewind and reload with what I'm learning, and take it back to first principles. And for me, first principles is the Law of One. That's the ultimate first principles for me.
Yeah.
You know, and then everything else comes off that, and it is yeah. I just feel it's very surreal, everything for me now at the moment, because I'm seeing all this, you know, all these things that I've been studying for 20 years, you know, on the horizontal plane. I've been studying for 20 years.
Well, now you can clearly see the co-creation. So
you just took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah, you can play. You know, you participate in the unraveling or the creation within creation.
Yeah, and here's the other thing which I've come to realize as well: the unraveling and the co-creation is the same thing. So the destruction and the creation of something new is actually, it happens simultaneously.
Yeah.
As the apocalypse happens, as the veil is lifted, and the old disintegrates. And metaphysically, there's no time period before the creation of the new. In my opinion, I think it happens simultaneously.
And this is the reason why I generally don't like the word or the words the Great Awakening, because although I agree with the Great Awakening as part of this age, the problem with that, people get suckered into thinking that it's only good. Because with the Great Awakening, you have to have a great revelation or great destruction.
Yeah. Yeah, you could be awakening to how bad things are.
Yeah. Yeah, the dark night of the soul as a collective. So I'm very cautious when I say that word or when I hear it, because you're going to kind of give people a false sense of reality, because they think it's going to be all pleasant.
Yeah. And the last thing we want to do is kick away the third part of that deck chair and make it go flat by saying, you know, You know, that idea that someone's coming to save us, the Great Awakening is happening because of some white hats. We are the white hats. It's us. I said this last week.
Yeah, you'll often hear me ask people when they say that they've gone through an awakening. I'll ask them, was it painful? In a way, I mean, I'm not being dark or anything, but in a way, I'm not interested in the rainbows and unicorns and kumbaya moments.
Yeah.
I'm actually
That's only
interested
a
in somebody's
semi-awakening.
experience. Yeah, I'm interested in somebody's experience of the revelation of the dark night of their soul and the soul as a collective. So if somebody comes to me and says, well, yeah, I went through an awakening, and I say, well, how was it? And they say, oh, it was great. It's really, everything's great. Then I might be a little bit skeptical as to
You've
whether
only
it's...
erected one side of your triad. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, it's not for me to judge, but it'll give me a deep understanding or understanding of their personal experience or where they are, because they could be at the beginning of their awakening when they think they've already awakened. There is, I'm just trying to remember it now, there's some kind of expression that goes like, blessed is he who is asleep, blessed is he who is awake, but woe and suffering to those who are awakening.
Yeah, because you think you're going mad.
Yeah, because you start to see things for the first time.
Yeah, I've helped a couple people through that, and I honestly think if I wasn't there to help them through it, they might have fallen to pieces. When they start seeing numbers everywhere, and they're like, "What the fuck's happening to me?" It's like it's okay. Don't worry, it doesn't. It gets better. It gets a lot better. Trust me. It's not so scary after a while. Before you wonder how you cope before you saw it. God.
Yeah, and then you have to add the humor, the lubrication. This is the other important aspect that is often neglected, because if you're not careful,
totally.
if you're not careful, and I use this all the time to transform the denying force. So when I'm engaging in something, and the denying force appears, rather than get upset or angst or angry or whatever, I try and look at it as though it's a comedy sketch or something that's got satire, and I actually make a comedy of my own situation. And that will often bridge the interval or the angle where the denying force ceases.
You have to, mate. I think that has to be part of the reason that we're getting traction here. We are fully lubricated on Rise Above. We don't take. We could talk about the deepest, darkest, or the most out there metaphysical concept, and one of us will just say something totally stupid in the middle of it, and that's why people keep coming back to us. And thank you everyone that does keep coming back. We're part of something now. It's been set. It's been cast out, and it's been branded into the ether that we are making a difference here now.
I've sat in some real deep groups, and I just sit there and I'm observing like how everybody's being so kind of, I don't know, serious about everything, and I just want to sit there and just crack a joke. In fact, I have done a couple of times, and
didn't go down too well.
Sometimes it has, but I mean, sometimes the teachers do that anyway. They take care of that, because it's almost like you can get to a certain point where you have to break the tension.
Yeah, absolutely.
The energy has to transform into something else. Like I say, if you look at the triangle, and this is very in simplistic terms, if you look at a triangle with three sides, it can only go so far before it changes direction and becomes its own opposite, until it reaches the reconciling or neutralizing line, which unites the two.
Yeah, I think possibly, I mean, I'll conceptualize it like this. When you start to realize what the reconciling force is, lubrication is often needed. Like the comedy and the lubrication can really actually brings the It's like when you've got a two-dimensional deck chair and you're really trying to jam in that last bit, you need some lubrication. And that's where the humor comes in. To get your deck chair fully erect, you need to lubricate some of the plinths first, I think. Because
Yeah, I mean,
to sit on a
even
flat
if
deck chair, man.
most people really don't understand what laughing is or laughter. It's actually it's a transference of energy.
It's a natural endorphin reaction.
Yeah.
You're actually literally creating a happy drug out of nowhere, and you can't do it. You can't always. Some people can. You can't do it on command. It actually needs a stimulus.
Yeah.
So a stimulus, an impression, an interaction comes from the outside physical world, and it comes vibrationally into your psyche and causes you to have a chemical reaction inside you that produces a drug that makes you feel happy.
Yeah.
It's actually quite fantastic when you think about that.
Yeah, and there's different types of humor. Even if you look at, say, different performances, you've actually got different types of humor. You've got comedy, you've got satire, and I'm sure there's many others. And they actually equate to different types of energy. So normally, when I'm describing humor, it will be when you can kind of laugh at yourself, especially if you can observe yourself in a difficult situation. If you can see the funny side of it, that can often help to lubricate, to get you to the next angle.
I've got a good friend who he lost one of his friends through a very tragic suicide, and in their little friend group they always would crack very inappropriate jokes, and they would have a competition. And at the funeral, my friend, like when the vicar was doing the eulogy, they had like a little stand they would make when someone was exaggerating or chatting shit. It was like if someone was giving it the large, they would do it to each other. While the vicar was doing the eulogy for a dead mate, my friend went to his brother, went like that, and he goes, I had to do it. It's what he would have done. I had to. It's like he had to lubricate the situation.
Yeah.
And they all giggled in the middle of the vicar's eulogy at his brother's funeral. But that's the power. That's the power of that comedic lubrication.
Well, I think it's more of a phenomenon than people realise. Now, I don't know about yourselves and people listening or watching. When you're in a really difficult, serious situation, sometimes you feel like laughing.
Yeah.
Or you see something that's funny and it catches your attention, and you're trying desperately not to laugh.
I've done that in a car crash before. I was in a minor car crash. I was sat in the front seat. It was we were at school, so everyone was 17, just got cars. And there's one kid that crashed his car every single week. Got a new car, crashed it, and he was just racing up to crash the car. And I was sat in the front seat. There was smoking. I had to bend the door to get out. I was pissing myself laughing, absolutely keeling over laughing. And he was just like, I didn't really have any control over it. And everyone was like, Lance, shut up. It's like he's done it. That's his third car this month. But yeah, it just came out. It was my reaction, because obviously I'd never been in a car crash before. The car was smoking. There was broken glass. I couldn't get out the door easily. Yeah, I could have been hurt. But,
well, that was one of the reasons why I published the Waterfall training video. I deliberately done that before the Moon Day. Now, on that video, it's a very serious thing doing waterfall training, because you feel like you're going to die. It's like a near-death experience, out-of-body experience. And at the end of the video, you see me walking out and I start laughing, like in ecstasy.
When you say you feel like you're going to die, is it because of the temperature, or is it because of the pressure of the water beating down on you, or both?
Everything. It's literally, it's like your body. The reason why you do it is because the body actually temporarily shuts down. In some ways, your body does actually die. And so you get to experience, I guess it's the DMT.
Yeah.
Because, the DMT, natural DMT is released at birth and at death. So we store DMT to get us through death. So no matter
and
how
it's super
horrific,
traumatic moments as well.
Yeah, no matter how horrific your death is, or could be, or will be, or whatever, your body will contain enough DMT to get you through it, to cross you over the bridge, or whatever, into the next realm. Now, because you're kind of artificially inducing that, your body's physiology thinks it's about to die,
Yeah.
and so you get that release of DMT, and also it's almost like your essence, your spirit, your soul is temporarily freed.
It's like an essence orgasm.
Yeah, yeah, and quite often it will induce a state of not necessarily, well, there's laughter, but it's greater than that. It's like the laughter of the soul.
Yeah, yeah. I've experienced this many times. It's almost like a crying laughter that comes from within.
Yeah,
The kind of sort of elation. That's probably the best way to describe it.
it's from the
not-
core. It's from the core.
Yeah. It comes from deep inside here. It's not laughter from the throat. It's certainly not coming from the mouth or the face. There's no like screwing your face. It's a totally different type of laughter. I've experienced this on a number of occasions. Like I said, I've consumed the spirit molecule more occasions than most people could even possibly imagine. I've experienced that a number of times, and it's very, very powerful. It's almost like you're sort of you're bleeding essence outwards, but not in a bad way. Not like you're losing it. It's just you're just exuding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, excuse me. Now, another important aspect of waterfall training is that you're inducing a conscious shock. So, for instance, if you fell out of a boat into cold water, that would be an unconscious shock, which is not particularly useful. So, because you know what you're doing, you're leading yourself into a conscious shock, which kind of gives you a different outcome.
That's what Wim Hof does. With
So you can
cold
practice
water
it. Yeah, you can practice it with cold showers. I recommend don't just go straight to waterfall training, because the difference. Because people often ask me, what's the difference between just cold shower and waterfall training? Well, if you look on that video, and I use that clip from around about 11 years ago, that if you actually look at how far the water's traveling from, I think it's around about maybe 50, 60 feet that the water's traveling from. So not only are you being hit by cold water, you're being hit at such a force that it goes through your body. So if you imagine the difference in force from a shower or even a bucket of cold water compared to this water traveling.
I've done a waterfall in Thailand, but the water was quite warm. Well, it wasn't, it was the coldest water you would find naturally in Thailand, which is fairly cool. But the power and the sheer force, and it wasn't a large waterfall. It was not large at all. But the sheer force of it coming down, it almost envelops you.
Yeah.
Because the water's not it doesn't have time to splash anywhere. It's just going all over you, and you feel completely consumed by it.
Yeah. Also, I must add, I don't recommend going alone, and I don't recommend waterfall training for somebody that's inexperienced, because obviously you got water for a start. Also, it will give you such a shock that you need people there, and you need pre-training, you need priming leading up to it. So even myself, I wouldn't just go and do it now. I would take cold showers for a few weeks.
I was doing the cold shower thing every morning for a while, but getting up an hour earlier. But I fell out of it was great, but I fell out of the pattern of it. And I've got so much stuff going on. Getting up an extra hour early every day.
Yeah,
that's a nice hour in bed. But I fully recommend anyone doing it. You can go on the internet, get Wim Hof's 30-day thing, the cold showers in the morning, the breathing. It works, 100%. It works, straight up.
Yeah,
I'd be
interested in organising something maybe with Rise Above.
No, we're going to do it. I've said it. If I want to come and do waterfall training with you, definitely.
Yeah.
Once we got the wedding out of the way, we need a couple of Rise Above field trips.
Yeah.
For sure, because I've got so many wicked places we could go down here. We could go and do Portland. We could go and De-Occult Portland, because I believe that's a star fort. So does Mike, who was watching earlier on. Big up, Mike.
You know, I used to go there years ago.
Yeah, you told me the story about the diving and looking under the rocks that no one had seen before. I told my dad about that. Yeah, he goes, yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting Master Lee.
Hey, there's your dad will probably know about this as well. There's loads of ammo down there. Loads of ammo down there.
Is that from World War II?
No, it's from training. They just leave it there.
No, yeah. Well, my dad was a Marine, so he trained.
Yeah.
He learned to be a Marine all around this part of the coast. So yeah.
Yeah.
I grew up across from the Royal Marines the hard, like the hard of the UK in Hamworthy. It's on my road where I grew up, with all the landing craft, all the Chinook helicopters.
Mm.
You know, the main base of Royal Marines in the UK.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely something with Portland.
I've filmed 2 music videos there. I always keep going back there. There's a very special energy on Portland Bill.
I always wanted to live there. When I used to travel down there, I always used to say, at some point, I'm going to live here.
It used to have a very strange reputation living on Portland.
Yeah.
It was like, you know, Weymouth is a bit of a seaside town. As soon as you go to Portland, everyone's like, you know, a bit weird. That's what when I grew up, that was the reputation. Everyone was inbred and weird. But now when you go there, it's actually quite affluent and quite built up. Well, not built up, but they've built lots of nice new waterside developments there. It's actually quite a sought-after place to live. And because you're on that rock, wherever you go, there's a lot of sky. Wherever you look up, there's more sky than you'd normally see because you're actually like on a domed rock. Yeah, very interesting place. And they've all the you know, Dungeon Master was filmed on Portland. And Don't Believe Me was also filmed on Portland in the disused naval base. What's it called? RMS something. Yeah, snuck in there.
Yeah, we've definitely got to have some field trips because I think we need like interaction.
Yeah, remember I've got the marine facility. We've got the tactical rib. We can go and check out a couple of different islands maybe. Yeah, it'd be really good.
I'll need to check with Mrs. Inner Guardians as to whether I can free dive. I've got a temporary ban on that.
Why is that?
Because it's very dangerous.
Yeah, well, number one, yeah. I know someone that died free diving. It is very dangerous.
Well, I speak about that I've died 5 times. Well, one of them was free diving.
Yeah, we don't need to make it number 6. In the Guardians, has only got 9 lives. He's got 4 left. Once he dies 9 times, he goes to a different octave.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, we've hit 2 hours for the first time on a midweek chat, so that's a milestone. Maybe we should wrap it up there.
Sure.
Well, it's been great. So, guys, don't forget the Coviet Union is a pathetic weasel. It can be defeated easily. If you're interested in my tactical nuke document that you guys kindly donated money and paid £3,300 to produce, this is the surefire method to defeat the Coviet Union when it comes to holding a protest, speaking at a protest, getting arrested at a protest. You don't need to worry about that anymore. We've solved that problem for you, and it's going up on a website tomorrow, a downloadable PDF for absolutely free for anybody that wants it. Because remember, I'm not a cult leader. I'm actually a leading de-occultist. And we've just de-occulted the rules about protesting. So, massive thank you to everyone tuned in. In the Guardians, any final thoughts before Friday?
Yeah, there is actually. I did receive a phone call from some of the viewers of Rise Above, and they wanted to express gratitude with regards to all the work that yourself and the team puts together.
Wow, awesome!
And actually, they may call, they may call in at some point from Scotland because they want to give a Scottish perspective.
Oh, we'd love to hear from them.
Yeah, I won't say much more than that, but they were really thankful for the information that we're putting out, and it's really helped them through their trials and tribulations.
Well, we're massively thankful if we're helping anyone. If we help one person, that's a 100% success rate.
Yeah, and I just want to say congratulations for Monday, and
thank you very much. It's a victory for everyone. It's not just a victory for me and Shelley. It's a victory for everyone. It's a victory for free speech. It's a victory for our right to say no, and to encourage other people to say no. So on that note, thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll be back at we'll be back at 9 p.m. on Friday for the big party celebrating Omar Beats' birthday, my stag do, and our massive win against the Coviet Union. Thank you very much for tuning in. See you guys next time. Rise above.
Rise above.
Rise above, generate, rise above, extinguish fear, rise above, abstract.